thought what we'd do, we've never done this before, so I really don't know what any of you are expecting. When I agreed to do this in the spring, I was thinking our main studio would be finished, and it's not. We've only been in this building a year, and the main studio is still down, which kind of ruins things. But as I told Robin, if you all want to come back a year from now, just tell her when you call that I promised a better tour next year. At that time, we'll have the main archival studio up and running with the old formats and that sort of thing, and it should be maybe a little more interesting. We're thinking of making that just for adults at that time. Anyway, I thought what we'd do here is divide this into two parts. Did she say who I was? I don't even remember. Yeah, I'm the AM program director for WSUI, which is the old station of the two. And
we love you.
Thank you very much. All right. 1919. We've been on the air since 1919. I thought what we'd do is spend some time in here, and then what I would kind of like you to be thinking about is who wants to do a little radio work back in the studios when we get done here. And what I have is an episode from the station Printed Archives on Jack Armstrong, the All-American Boy, which has about 8 parts in it, and there can be kids, let's see, about 3 or 4 kids, maybe 3 or 4 adults. If some of you are interested, it would be nice to have some volunteers. And then we have a couple of parts. I thought you all might enjoy reading a 30s radio script this is for adults only, for men talking about the news scene in Hollywood and so forth, from an original script that belonged to the station back in the 30s. And then there's some equivalent script for women. So if you all are interested in that, we can kind of divvy that up and record you back in the studio, and then you can hear yourself play it back. Also, with the Jack Armstrong thing, I have some original sound effects from the station that I dubbed off, and we'll mix those in. Diana's going to be engineering that, and so think about what part you might want. So just want to give you some warning there. Why don't we go to you for a minute? So I don't wear out my voice. We thought we'd start with a glossary. The station, largely through me, has possibly the best printed book radio history section in the country, as far as we know. We have several thousand old radio books here, that many of which belong to the station. Mostly I've collected them through odd sources, but for this purpose, I copied some original WSUI introductory material from the 1930s from some textbooks. So, you want to do this? We thought we'd give you a little quiz and see if you're up on 1930s radio terminology, because we've been on the air since 1919, and a lot of these terms were used throughout the history of this place, going back that far. Now you'll notice that the terms may be a little unfamiliar to you today, but we thought we'd see if any of these kind of ring true in 1998. Kathy?
Or maybe they mean something today that they meant something different before.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, some of these will have a literal meaning that you will know what it means in usual, everyday parlance, but it means a totally different thing in radio terms. Like arsenic. I mean, arsenic, is poison. But what do you think it means in terms of radio?
Something went wrong.
No? Close.
A bad program.
Very good.
It's a killer. Okay. Okay, now I'm sure everybody knows what a beard is, right? I mean, that's probably, well, we used to have a beard, but shaved it off last week.
Got rid of it.
Okay, what do you think a beard would be in radio?
Stretch it. Taking
That's a good guess.
That's a good guess.
Yes, actually.
I heard somebody say something.
Taking
was
too
wrong, right? It's something that went wrong. It's an error. Or a synonym for it is fluff, which
Well, we don't
fluff.
have much here.
Usually you think of fluff as being stuff that would be extra, but back then it was fluff and a beard. I guess there were fluffy beards. Okay, bite it off. Right. She used to work in radio.
We're doing pretty well.
Okay, canaries.
And a bird singer.
Close. Oh yes, that is singers. I thought somebody would say, a stool pigeon, something.
Is that a kind of bird?
It's a bird, yes, absolutely. You get the prize. Okay. A clam bake.
This is one of my all-time favorites. Anybody know what a clam bake? It's one of the great old radio terms.
Well, party gathering together.
Well, it's gathering together. It's gathering together. It's like a first rehearsal when everything goes wrong. And everything is going wrong.
It's a bad broadcast. We still use that today once in a while. We joke about it. We don't want a clam bake.
Yeah. Or a clamaroo. That's the other word for it. Okay. Well, here's the perfect one for Iowa. What do you think corn-fed means? No,
Overfed.
kind of a,
Wholesome.
Overfed.
well, no, but it's sort of,
Corny.
it's corny, but we get a bad rap for it. It's,
Like a farmer?
yeah, it's lacking cultural background. We get a bad rap for that. And I think we should be protesting that one. Okay. A putty blower. Okay, this is from a musical program. We had a band. Which one is the putty blower?
Oh, jeez.
The tuba?
Close. Close.
You got the right idea. Yeah.
Twimble.
Yeah.
You got
Yeah,
it.
you got it. Very good.
Okay, now here's a word that people use all the time. This is a very modern word too. I know a lot of people just don't know what it means. Segue.
Still used today.
Lead into bridge. Something that leads into
A transition from one story to the next story. Right. Segue. It's just amazing. That word's been around a long time. It's still around, and people still don't know what it means. Okay.
We still use it.
Origin, is it French or what?
Oh, yeah. I think that's what it means, a bridge. Talking in his beard. Yeah.
Very
Is that
good.
what, that's what your dad used to sound like, right?
What was that you said?
Talking in his beard, a muffled sound.
That's what I was gonna say.
You're gonna say that. Gotta be quick. Okay, here's another one that you still hear sometimes, a tearjerker.
Someone who cries on stage.
No, it's not a person.
Oh,
Tearjerker. Like a soap opera, something. Or it could just be an advertisement, you know, for something where they're just trying to really get you emotional about it. And you just have to do this. All right, here's another. There's just too many words for this. A turkey.
A chicken, kind of name on a scale.
You know, I had.
Scale.
It's what?
Another bad.
Another bad show. You know, you get the feeling that they had so many words for bad shows. There was either that or radio people are very insecure.
Why do we have to have 20 words for the same thing?
We were just talking about that.
Well, you know, maybe it's because radio started at a time when they weren't all necessarily connected all together, and they didn't communicate with each other, so they all maybe different stations had different words for it. And some of these come from theater too. You know, like a tearjerker could be a sad play, and a turkey is definitely something you'd hear about in a play too. So radio started out as being like taking theater and putting it in a studio and broadcasting it to all the people who didn't get a chance to go to the theater.
Are there any in there that would show great success?
You know, well,
Good
you
question.
take over and I'll look.
You can let her look.
This poster here shows you a schedule. This is sort of like the TV guide of the radio days. So that if you wanted to find out when your favorite program is, but you can come up and look at this. But one thing that you'll notice when you look is there's an awful lot of programs that are 15 minutes long. You know, now it's getting to be, you know, except for some sitcoms, most programs are even an hour. Dramas certainly are. And the news programs are an hour. And back, this is 1931. Programs were 15 minutes long.
Just a week.
Yeah.
And yeah, just on one station, and up here, you know, it has the highlights for the week. You can see that the programs came from, well, it's sort of like NPR is now. You know, you turn on NPR, the programs don't all originate here in our city. In fact, most of them don't. They originated, and they don't originate all in Washington, D.C. Or New York. They originate at different NPR member stations. They're made in the stations, and then they're broadcast from all of they're broadcast by satellite to WSUI, and then we can broadcast them to our listeners. But the show may be made in San Francisco, a San Francisco station, or a Pittsburgh station, or a Boston station. And the same thing was true even in the 30s, that there's, programs from, the WABC, which is actually, it's not ABC like you think of it now, because ABC didn't exist back then. And WJZ, which was one of the first stations, and WEAF was one of the very pioneer stations. They're WOR. Yeah, so.
I thought what I'd do also, if while you're taking a look at that, is have you listen to a few things that are from our archives. No, I haven't got the stuff professionally declicked and dehissed, which was what I was hoping to have done. But
why don't you say what a click and a hiss are?
Oh, it's old. Well, let me grab this, for example. I should have had this up front. In the basement of the engineering building, before we moved just a year ago, the move was just, the move from hell. We're trying to get all this stuff moved, but I found several hundred of what we call electrical transcriptions, and if you look at the old textbooks, they're referred to as ETs. And what these are 16-inch discs, and as I say, I saved hundreds of these, and they're in the basement here. And these were the ways programs were distributed from about the early 30s through, actually all the way through the 1950s. Now, as it turns out, we just got the equipment in to restore these. A special turntable to play all these back. Included in the lot were a number of University of Iowa related programs, documentaries done by WSUI way back. And this is a program from the Institute of Oral and Visual Education in Washington called Our Constitution, which I'm guessing is a 1940s documentary. Of course, I can't listen to it, but we will be able to do that soon. But these are called ETs. Now, I do have some of the stuff from some of the ETs that I was able to copy, and let me have you listen to this part of it, get an idea of what it sounds like. This was a program featuring the Happiness Boys, which an early radio comedy team. I'm sorry, this is a WSUI broadcast from the Union. This was a WSUI broadcast here, but I forgot I had this in there. And it's Woody Herman from the IMU from 1941.
This is Milo Hamilton speaking to you from the Iowa Memorial Union on the University of Iowa campus in Iowa City, where residents of the Tri-Dorm Association and their guests are dancing to the music of Woody Herman and his band. Let's hear some of that music now as Woody and the boys open our broadcast with the top instrumental of the day, How High the Moon.
Well, you get an idea, and this goes on for about an hour, I suppose. Again, this was on one of those large discs that I was able to transfer back at the other building before the one turntable finally died. But this was typical of our programming back in the 30s and 40s, a live broadcast from the campus. There were lines connecting the various buildings. And even before that, here's a sample of like another ET program from a group comedy duo called the Happiness Boys, and you can get an idea, just a little idea of what it sounds like. And I have it in a second.
Your ETs were at 78?
No, they actually play at 33 1/3. Yeah. Interestingly enough, that speed was in use. Was in use in those early days.
When there was no bread for the hungry people of Paris, Queen Marie Antoinette said, "Let them eat cake." There's nothing that takes the place of bread. Nothing nourishes the body or satisfies the appetite day after day the way bread does. Serve tasty bread in any manner you prefer, and your family will say, "Okay," because tasty is the best loaf in town. The Tasty Breadwinner is directed by Ben Self and Harry DeCosta at the piano, and here they are, Billy Jones and Ernie Hare, the Tasty Loafers.
How do you do, everybody, how do you do? Going on the Jones and Hare, all of you. We're to loafers now and then, representing Tasty Bread, how do you do?
time did you get home last night?
Oh, about 11:15, Ernie.
Well, what are you talking about? It was 2:30 when you left my house, and it must have been at least 3 o'clock when you got home.
Well, isn't 3 1/4 That's
right.
Yeah, Ernie, I had a great time.
Yeah.
But can the lady of your house talk?
Yeah, well, you know, that's funny. After you left this morning, we were on our way upstairs to retire.
Yeah.
And she said, is everything set up for the night? And I said, yes, all of us you, darling. You know, I woke up too, Bill, during the night and saw her going through my pocket.
Well, what did you do?
I just turned over and laughed.
Here's the pretty little ditty you haven't taken. Always been my song. It's the word the ribbon history is making.
It's hot, hot, and warm. The song is gonna tear us.
Well, you get the idea.
Come to the party on the way. All over the new.
And again, this is something that, you know, that came off of an ET like this, the 16-inch disc, and in a year from now, this is going to sound a lot better. Because what we're getting in is we have a special computer that's in, actually it's still in the box, but it has software in it that you run the sound, the original 78s or the ETs through it, and the software gives you the sound field back visually, and it takes a sample, and then you run it through again, and takes the hissy noise from the disc out. And then the next run through, it takes the clicks from the 78s to the 33s. So in a year, these are going to sound terrific. They won't sound CD quality, but they'll be easier to understand than what you've heard.
I gather that you have an official policy that you preserve everything that you recorded.
Well, there wasn't. Yeah.
We're just lucky we have Dennis. It's just Dennis is
Is there
When
a
they-
station policy to do that?
No, when they kicked us out of the engineering building, we were kind of told to be out in a hurry, and it was just it was crazy. It was crazy. We had 80 years worth of stuff to get over here before the wrecking ball went through that 1939 edition. And I literally was scampering. It was in the basements, you know, salvaging stuff that had been in storerooms for 50 years, including all this stuff. And it would have been lost had I not gone down there, because we have a very small staff, and nobody else was interested except me. And, you know, some of the stuff I saved, I was going to show you the old mics.
You know, the whole KSUI record
This is somebody's
collection
head.
is sold.
You almost went far.
It's gone.
I was able to save a bunch of our vintage mics. This is an old RCA 44, which, you know, Johnny Carson still was using on his desk. I think Letterman. No, he's not using a 44, but some of these mics, these weigh about, you know, 3 tons apiece. They're also very valuable, and collectors will pay hundreds of dollars for these things. Also in the basement were things like old WSUI mic clips. You know, we have a bunch of these that I found, and which I was happy to find. Oh, here's the Letterman mic. You know, that's just a prop. He doesn't actually use it, but it's on his desk because he thinks it looks cool. And this is a mic like Herbert Hoover used to use back. You know, when you see Hoover doing a live broadcast, and I can't think of the model number for this, but
Like a carbon mic.
exactly, yeah, a carbon mic. And I got several of these, and this is an old VU meter from the original 1937 console for WSUI. VU meter is what takes the level of the audio coming off the board, and I saved that for sentimental purposes. And I also found, yeah, that's another old mic. I don't know what the model number is on this, but you see these in old pictures hanging down for drama. They would hang them from this, you know, a tall. And this one, this is my favorite. This thing weighs about a ton. God. It looks like a muffler. That's great. And there's some photographs of old WSUI announcers using this. Isn't it wonderful? Yeah, I won't drop it on your head.
What was that? That's the microphone?
Yeah, yeah. And also,
You showed a magnetic charge
Yeah, you can
keep
pick
them
it up.
together.
and also down in the basement were some great old radios that were station equipment. And I can't imagine having to try to tune one of these things in. I'm sure it was a bear.
What is that?
Just an old radio.
Receiver.
Yeah, from the 20s. Put it up here. And actually, Elvis used to work here too. We have his.
Question.
Yeah.
Why do these two have a magnetic charge which holds them together?
The magnetic charge?
Yeah, it has magnetic stuff.
Well, yeah, there is a magnet actually in each of the mics. That's true.
And they're
Yeah.
sticking together.
Oh, they're sticking together.
Yeah, sticking together.
Yeah, you're right. I don't know what that is. They're sticking. He's right. They're sticking together. I don't know.
What?
Dennis, when was the first radio? When was, who manufactured and brought out the first radio, very first?
Well, it was probably Atwater Kent, I'm guessing, from around 1920. Yeah. Yeah, and they were, this is an early radio. I think this is, I'm guessing 22 or 23 on this. They don't really get any older than this.
Before the superhead were done.
Mm-hmm. Right, right. Yeah.
But kids, especially boys, were in their garages making crystal sets.
Yeah, crystal
with
sets, right.
that, so.
Lucy and I just made a crystal set last year. You can still buy crystal sets and put them together. They're a lot of fun. Usually pick up maybe 1 or 2 AM stations if you stretch the wire long enough.
In fact, they used to have contests where people would mail in how far away they got a signal.
Yeah,
Homemade-
DXs.
With
Yeah.
their homemade crystal sets. I think it was when there was,
Well, let me move up in time just a bit. So what I just played you, the Milo Hamilton thing was from 41. The second thing was from 35, the Happiness Boys, which were actually not broadcast here, but I just happen to have the ETs.
Dennis?
Yeah.
Could I just say one thing about that Happiness Boys?
Yeah.
That it's different from today too, is that, I don't know if you noticed at the beginning, they were actually doing what you could call a commercial.
Yeah.
But programs back then, there were commercial stations, and they weren't all commercial stations. There were things called sustaining programs that would be like WSUI, it was paid for in other ways, but commercial stations, today we have advertisements, that spots are, the time is sold to a company, you get, 15 seconds or 30 seconds. But back then, the whole program had a sponsor, and the actors or the singers were part of the advertisements. They would start off the show and they would tell you to buy this product. It was kind of, it all flowed together. There wasn't a distinct commercial. Now we're doing a commercial, now we're going to do the show, and we'll cut back to the show. It was all one big program, and the sponsor was incorporated into the program.
Right, that's a good point. I want to wrap up the sound, and we're going to go to Guyan, who's going to do a combination of a test for hand signals, if anybody wants to take part, and an announcer's test, if any of you want to volunteer for that. I have an original announcer's test from 1939, and so be thinking whether you want to try it. We may hire you. We're a little short-handed right now. Okay, and then I'm going to jump up to the 50s, the 1950s, from some original discs that we had here that were used for. They're theme discs. They're not sound effects discs. They were used to produce for background for programs. So listen to these and just get a flavor of some of the programs we use these for. And they're thematic. So see if you can guess which is which. For example, what? Dramatic mystery program? Yeah, I think so.
Don't exactly know what's going on right here. They're walking around. Sounds more like a romance.
Yeah. These, again, were actual WSUI discs. Used for various purposes.
Does it have to get copyright clearance?
Nah. Yeah. Mystery drama. No. It's getting a little newer now. We're getting up into the 60s.
Wake up.
just about over. I think there's a couple more. Documentary bed. This is for a documentary. I remember that. The Story of Corn. Something dramatic. Well, now we're into the early, we're about 1969 here, when the first electronic beds came in. This was the cool stuff at the time. Electronic noises.
Show my UFOs.
This is especially bad. I have to admit.
Those are the clicks you're talking about.
Right, exactly. All right, well, enough of that. This is all original stuff. Now, briefly, if you want to hear what the very latest stuff sounds like, we just got this demo disc in for 1998 radio stations that are, want the latest stuff. Ready for this? This is what it sounds like today. I'll go to the news bed. Okay, fine. Whoops, that's wrong. Okay. Here's news.
News.
It also sounds like the beginning of movies.
The very latest stuff. You like it?
Sort of an enhanced space, no?
Well, anyway. Not that
Sounds more like the Canadian one. As it happens.
yeah, as it happens. Not that we have anything new here, we don't. But well, let's move on to Guyane, who wishes to give you a test. So I'm going to turn the heat down while we do this.
Okay, back in the old days, announcers did not run the board as we do now. I don't know how familiar you are with the technique of announcing, but we usually come in and we work just from the board in the studio, in the control booth. We turn the microphone on and then we turn it off ourselves, so we know what we're doing. A while back, people, used the help of engineers, or there were at least 2 or 3 people working at the same time in different locations, divided by a glass window or a wall, and especially when it involved a complicated situation, like a production of a drama or, music. So these people were forced to communicate through signals, sign language, because they could not talk on the air, it would go on the air, or for some other reasons, they could not hear each other. So there's this system of signals, okay? I'm going to show some of them to you, and let's see if you can guess what they mean. Not that we're using them, as I said, we do it all by ourselves. We turn our mics on and off. But here's one thing that people did in those days. What would this mean?
Quiet.
Or
Sound level up or down.
okay, this has to do with balance. If you're doing music production, it has to do with balancing, levels. But that's too complicated. Let's
Make it longer.
right stretch, make it longer, slow down, because there's plenty of time to fill and not enough text to read, I guess. This one you might know already.
Quiet.
Yeah, lower, bring the volume down.
Bring the volume louder.
Okay. What would this mean? This is not in the
Time out.
Yeah, that's easy.
That's technical sign language.
Yes,
actually.
yes, that's true. This is all technical. This is for engineers.
That was
Producers.
no. This is still sign language today.
It still works. Yeah, most of them. Yeah, you're right. Television people use this, right? Okay. Like this.
Turn it down.
Both hands. So this should involve two actions, two things. Down and out. Fade out. Bring down and completely out. This is a funny one. We don't use it now, but what would that mean?
Too nasal.
No. Yeah, that's logical, but it's not the case. Oh, no. Sticky show. No, this means we're on the nose of the program. Like we're doing fine on time, or, you know, time-wise we're fine. Like very precise, good timing. And another one, which is pretty close. Okay, so we're going to finish right on time, on the nose again. What would this mean?
See it.
Watch.
Watch for signals,
watch
watch for
what you're
signs. And this?
Listen to what you're doing. Listen to it.
Very close. But
Listen to what.
how does it sound? It means, how do I sound? What else do we have? Just like this. Take it easy. I wouldn't guess it. Take it easy. I don't know why. And these are not for us. Okay, some easy ones. Quit talking.
Muffle.
No,
Get closer to
I'm
the
showing
mic.
what to do. Yeah, closer. Go closer to the mic. And this.
Get further away
from. Move away. Right. What else? Oh, this is easy. Cut. Cut. This is a sign to the engineer. Or should cut. You know, if I'm going to cough or sneeze or something. What else? This is very easy. Okay. Everything's fine. And well, there are some signs for the conductors, for the music part. What would this mean for both music and announcers?
At the same time. Together.
Okay, don't use the optional cutaways. Don't cut. Just play the whole thing. And just one more. This is, I guess, my favorite.
1 minute to go.
This means dual station ID, and this is usually directed to the announcer. And they're supposed to do station IDs once an hour at least now. We do it without this signal. We know when to do it on the top of each hour. We have to tell the listeners what station they're listening to. And back in those times, you know, everything was done according to those directions. So I guess that's most of
You
it.
want to do the test?
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, who wants to take the official?
One more. I guess you know this
Oh.
one.
Well, that's the
This
beard.
one. This one. Beard, yeah.
The beard.
That one. Okay, we have a test here.
Okay, volunteers to take the announcer's test.
Where are the people? Yesterday, thousands were in the square. Thursday, they were using firearms.
Very good. That sounds like a news story. You want me to go a little more?
Okay. They have been gone half an hour ago. They took a bath in that swimming hole. Was it gave them a good shawari last night? Don't know whether it was guns or that punch Ed brought up from the south that scared him most.
Very good. Very good.
Anybody else want
Any adults would like to take the adult portion? Volunteers.
Yeah.
Okay, the last thing in here, before we try to figure out if we have enough people to do the play, is I just thought I'd mention briefly about radio on the web. If any of you have the internet, just to give you an idea of what's out there. It's actually absolutely amazing amount of stuff now. You just cannot believe the quality of the old-time radio on the net. right now. Air checks, complete programs, ton of text, graphics, jingles, yeah. I've got a couple of sites here. We have luckily Ethernet into the building here, so it's a fast line. But even with a 33 modem, or if you've got a 56 modem, this stuff will go fast. Just to give you a couple of examples. This is from a site, the main site I recommend is called oldtimeradio.com. It's one word, Old Time Radio. And then within that, there's a ton of links. My favorite being a link run by a guy by the name of Jim Widner. So if you see his name, click on it. He's got a whole ton of vintage reports, including the Hindenburg disaster, which is my all-time favorite. I thought maybe we could listen to a little bit of that. These are not the best speakers in here, so if you have better speakers at home, it'll sound even better than this. But here's an example of what you can find on the web today. This is the Hindenburg Explosion with Herb Morrison reporting on live on WLS from New Jersey at the time of the explosion.
What exploded?
By the way, WLS was owned by Sears.
In the rain, and if that is the case, we're going to have a mighty fine description of it for you, because the men will have difficulty in keeping footing in the sand, and especially since it's wet. Now the structure is light and just so strong in the Hindenburg. From the ground,
this was a Hindenburg, which was a blimp that blew up as it was landing.
A third of the distance back of the nose, and just about a third of the distance from the keel.
Herb Morrison is still alive, but he's very old.
And seem to extend the entire width of the ship. There are two decks, A and B, A being the main one, and the one where most of the passengers.
Well, anyway, there's a ton of debate. If any of you are on any old-time radio discussion groups, what the scene was in New Jersey was he was standing there with the recording engineer who was recording directly onto these electrical transcriptions. So Herb Morrison is standing there with his mic and this huge machine, and his engineer is right next to him, and they're cutting these discs. And then, so it was not actually a live broadcast. So what they did was fly the discs back to WLS in Chicago. They were on in just a matter of hours. But there's a huge amount of controversy as to why his voice is so high, and now they pretty much scientifically determined that the machine was slightly off. It was running a little bit too slow, so he really didn't actually, his voice sounds higher than it really was. But the originals are at the National Archives, and they're guarded by, in the National Archives. And then one more example of what you can find on the web, and then we'll go back to the studio. There's also a lot newer stuff if you're interested in that.
This time will it take so long?
No. If you're looking for the history of, for example, top 40 radio back, vintage stuff from the 60s, I'd recommend going to the WABC site, which is musicradio77.com. There's some wonderful stuff here, air checks of great top 40 radio. I'll just have you listen to a brief excerpt from Cousin Brucey. For example, on this website, there's 4 complete hours of the Cousin Brucey show from 1968. If any of you grew up listening to that, this is a treasure. This is one of my favorite things. You just click on it, and it's here. Just have you listen to a couple minutes of
News at 55 and 25. WABC, New York. More music on 77 WABC. Airplane, and we were flying over something or other, and they told me I had to get back today to fly. How are you? Everything all right? You know how much I miss you? Hi, everybody. Cousin Brucey here. Just came over from the coast. It was nice to be back at WABC.
Well, okay. And then that's Born to be Wild by Stephen. Just an idea, again, of the resources on the web. So if you have a multimedia computer. All right, this is the end of part 1. And we're right on time. It's a little past 3. Now, we're going to go back in the studio, and I'm hoping to have, did Kathy leave, I guess? Yeah. I'm hoping to have about 7 volunteers to do a little radio play. So, do you have the scripts?
Yeah.
Let's head back.
And now, Jack Armstrong, the all-American boy,
The silver albatross is on her way up the Congo River. Uncle Jim is at the controls, with Betty beside him. 3,000 feet below, between giant forests, there roars an unnavigable gateway into the dark Africa. The plunges cataract known as the Sanley Falls that held the world at bay for centuries. On the floor, the plain sights Bulula, the black magician. He is known as the Elephant Man. 6 feet 4 inches, magnificent bronze savage. He is clad the lion skin apron and the necklace of lion claws. His dark eyes glow with mystery, and his thick African lips smile with proud cunning. Jack is watching Bulula, and Billy is seated beside Jack. The snub-nosed, Enli-colored native Kazamoto is squatting at Jack's feet. Uncle Jim is diving lower at better view of the falls, and Kamoso is afraid of the power dive. Listen. Who's Kamoso?
Right, Mr. Camoso.
I don't want to say all those words. I couldn't understand half of them.
Okay, I'll be that person.
Oh!
There's the mother figure.
I could, but I'm not. Oh!
Don't be afraid, Kazumoto. Nothing is wrong with the plane. We're only lower for a better view of the falls.
What are those specks? Look, 4, 5 of them between that island and the riverbank.
Are they logs or crocodiles? Or what are they?
Those are native canoes.
Josh, those are native boatmen. Must be pretty skillful.
You bet they are. Those are enormous canoes, and they're built of mahogany or something. Mahogany wood. There isn't much wood stronger than mahogany, but the careless stroke of a paddle and goodbye.
I suppose the canoe would be all smashed to pieces.
Oh, I'm up. Oh,
Yeah.
don't. Yes, and the piece is too small for matchwood.
That current looks worse than Niagara. It seems a pity that engineers can't do something about those 60 miles of rapids and make them navigable.
Engineers can do anything.
There's isn't a thing that the mind of a man can imagine.
You want to talk into the microphone?
That engineers can't do. If you only give them time and money. Then they won't do it. If engineers would take those rapids navigable, there would be an open waterway. When there,